Hey, what's going on, you guys? My name is the Raptor, and welcome back to Who'd Win and Why. And if you guys have watched these videos before, then you'll know that I'm not in my regular spot where I do these kinds of videos. In fact, I'm not even in my own house at all. Surprise! I'm on vacation again, and this time I'm in Maine, USA. Now, this is a much smaller vacation. In fact, by the time this video gets uploaded, I'll actually already be back home. So to you guys, it really doesn't make any difference. It's like I never left. So yeah, there you go. There's no real reason why I decided to choose this video to be filmed on vacation. It's more like, hey, I'm on vacation, I can film a video today, and this was the next video to film. So I thought, why not? Let's do something different. Another quick thing I want to say is that if you're a returning subscriber, there is something important I'm going to be saying at the end of the video, so stick around for that. But I'm going to leave that until the end. Let's get into this episode. So today, we've got Poison Ivy going up against Killer Frost. Now, both of these characters are extremely intelligent, they're very powerful in their own rights, and they have great control over what they control. But who would win in a one-on-one battle to the death? Well, I'm here to give my opinions on the subject. So, who would win and why? Let's find out. So first I'm going to talk about Poison Ivy. Now honestly, Poison Ivy's powers are pretty straightforward. Overall, they are very simple, and I'm sure all of you guys could do just as good a job explaining her powers as I could. But you know what? This is who'd win and why. I like to go into detail, sometimes too much detail, so we're going to go into it anyway. So Poison Ivy's powers, obviously Poison Ivy specializes in chlorokinesis, which is the ability to, generate and manipulate all different types of plant life. And when I say all different types of plant life, I really do mean that, because she's able to create and control so many different types of plant life. Like, she can make walking trees to suffocating spores and everything in between. So she's very versatile in that regard. She can also use her plant controlling abilities in many different ways. She can have her plants attack her foes. She could have plants defend her from foes, attacks coming from foes. Generally, those would be attacks that she herself would not be able to survive. She can also, under some circumstances, affect the ground underneath her opponent, or herself for that matter. She can use vines to tangle up and ensnare her opponents. In fact, she's so good and so powerful with these plants and abilities that she can take down an entire skyscraper just by using vines alone. So she's very, very powerful, and while Poison Ivy herself doesn't have a high degree of strength, speed, or durability, it's very clear that it's her plants that give her her power and her defense. So she is very powerful with her plants. I know a lot of people don't really like to think that Poison Ivy is that powerful, but don't let the name fool you. Just because she's working with plants doesn't mean she's not powerful. When she really gets going and makes like an army of plant life, she can really be powerful, even though she herself is not really doing all that much. She's just creating plants, but she can be very powerful, so don't underestimate her. And just because she doesn't have like enhanced strength or speed or durability or anything like that, that doesn't mean that she doesn't have any other physical capabilities, such as the mind-controlling kiss. Now, we all know that Poison Ivy uses her looks to her advantage. That's kind of obvious. She's done that many times before. But if that's not good enough, there are a few men or women that are able to resist the mind-controlling abilities of her kiss. In fact, she doesn't even have to kiss you in order to take over your mind. All she has to do is like put her hands around your mouth, and you're under her control just like any other plant would be. In fact, she was actually able to do this to Superman in the Batman Hush storyline. So that really goes to show that there aren't that many characters that would be able to resist this ability, which is pretty cool. She also has a poisonous kiss and a poisonous touch. Now, while the poisonous kiss is generally used as a one-hit kill move, it's the type of thing where it's like if she does it, you're instantly dead, the poisonous touch is not really like that. Sometimes it's been depicted as such, but most of the time, no, it's just what it is, a touch that poisons you. It's generally not fatal, but it is still a good attack that she can use if she gets in close enough. She can also change the pigmentation of her skin to make herself blend in more with humans, because something that's actually really cool, have you ever noticed that sometimes Poison Ivy looks more like a human, but sometimes she has like green skin? Well, I believe the reasoning behind that is that like after she got turned into Poison Ivy, she had green skin, that's now her natural skin color, but she can change the pigmentation to almost give the illusion that she's a human, blend in with humanity. And I think that's really cool, because that's something I didn't even know before, so yeah, that's really interesting. And she is immune to all toxins and poisons after her transformation into Poison Ivy, so that's something worth noting as well. When it comes to Poison Ivy's weaknesses, I believe that they're pretty obvious. While her plants give her power and defense, Poison Ivy herself is not really all that strong or fast or durable. She has the physical capabilities of a regular person, except for like the kissing and touching and all. Oh, that sounded really weird, but you guys know what I mean. Except for that stuff, you know, she has the capabilities of a regular person. And you know, when it comes to the plants, she seems to rely a lot on her plants, maybe more than she really should. If she somehow lost all of her plants, she wouldn't have that much to bring to the table. To be fair though, she does have limited knowledge in combat training, but other than that, she really doesn't have a lot up her sleeve if all of her plants somehow disappeared or she wasn't able to make any more plants. But she can still kill you with a kiss, so I guess that is worth noting. So overall, Poison Ivy is very powerful in her own right. She can make a lot of plants, and she can really get going, and she can really be strong, and she's fought Batman numerous times. If you step to her in a one-on-one battle to the death, you better keep your distance, because she will obliterate you if you get in too close. Alright, so now let's talk about Killer Frost. So like Poison Ivy, Killer Frost doesn't have a lot of special ability, or, I don't know, I guess I shouldn't say that, but she doesn't, like, it's not that hard to go over everything that she has, but I'm gonna do it anyway. It's pretty straightforward. So when it comes to Killer Frost, obviously she specializes in cryokinesis, which is the ability to generate and manipulate, you know, ice and cold and snow and all that good stuff. And the way that Killer Frost specifically does this is by absorbing heat in the atmosphere or by other people, and that essentially powers her powers. And the more heat she gets, the more powerful she becomes, or I guess more accurately, the longer her powers will last. Because heat is not only essential to the use of her powers, but also to her survival, but I'm going to get more into that later on in the video. In fact, she's so good at absorbing heat that trying to use a heat-based weapon against her, such as like a flamethrower, probably won't work out all too well. It probably won't affect her that much. In fact, she could just absorb the energy and get more power from it. So if you're going to go in, like if you want to fight Killer Frost, don't come in with a flamethrower, because it probably will not work. And on the flip side of the coin, if you used a cold-based weapon against her, or if you somehow turned off the heat in the atmosphere, or something like that, if you could even do that, then you would slowly take away Killer Frost's abilities. Which I actually find very, very interesting, because when you think of cold-like characters in fiction, you're probably thinking, oh, they're probably like immune to the cold, but they're weak to heat. But in Killer Frost's case, it's basically the exact opposite, which is something I didn't even know about her until I did the first episode of Who'd Win and Why that involved her, which was Iceman versus Killer Frost, back all the way in Season 5, in the Christmas season. So yeah, that's really interesting, something that I find really cool. But anyway, enough about that. Let's get into what she can actually do. So like I said, cryokinesis. She's able to do a lot of stuff with her ice abilities. She can generate ice, she can manipulate ice in pretty much any way she wants to. What can she do? So now I'm just drawing a complete blank. So she can freeze people in place, she can just use an ice blast and knock people over. She can create like gusts of cold air, which can be used offensively, but she can also use it to like hurl objects across the room. She can also create like a giant ice wall, which will, you know, protect her from incoming projectiles or even just heavy punches. And she can basically create any sort of ice construct she wants to. Because there's basically like a lot of heat in the air, as long as she just keeps absorbing heat, she can make as much ice as she wants, and she can use it in really any way she wants. She can create like ice daggers, like I said, an ice wall, ice hammers, basically any sort of weapon she can think of, she can make it with ice. So she's basically the Green Lantern of ice. Not really, but you guys know what I mean, in terms of the construct side of things. And it seems that her transformation into Killer Frost also gives her some sort of physical enhancements as well. Like when it comes to strength, she was able to lift Riddler just with one arm, you know, a full-grown man just with one arm with relative ease. And that's pretty impressive, you know, that kind of shows that, you know, she did get some sort of enhancements in terms of strength. Because, you know, like, lifting someone with one arm with relative ease, I'm assuming is not easy to do. And when it comes to speed, obviously we know she can fly and she can create... And much like Iceman, you know, she can make an ice trail, you know, glide and slide on it, so that allows her to move around the battlefield much easier. And obviously, you know, the flying increases her maneuverability and speed. And when it comes to durability, she seemed to get a big boost in terms of durability, because she can fight many different powerful characters in the DC universe. She can take their hits and get right back up and keep fighting, such as Superman and even her main enemy, I guess I should say, Firestorm. And in fact, it's even been stated that Firestorm's powers are so great that if he's not careful, he can destroy the universe. So being able to take attacks from that guy as your main enemy, like someone who can destroy the universe if he's not careful, and being able to get right back up, that's durability if I've ever seen it. And when it comes to stamina, obviously, you know, she can keep absorbing heat in the air, and she can, you know, get more stamina and get more power. And I believe, if I'm getting this right, she can freeze people with just a kiss. So, you know, where have I seen that before? Something like that before, but anyway. So yeah, when it comes comes to her weaknesses, you know, I feel that this is pretty straightforward. I kind of already mentioned this, but Killer Frost's weaknesses are mainly that she really relies on heat, not only for her powers, but to survive. If she doesn't absorb heat for too long, she will slowly lose her powers, and then even after that, she will slowly start to die. In fact, her reliance on heat is so great that one of the main reasons why she fights Firestorm is because Firestorm is one of the only beings in existence, if not the only being in existence, that can actually satisfy her hunger for heat. So yeah, she really does rely on heat. However, she has survived this long, so that is worth noting, and she has fought some of DC's most powerful players. And even though she does work with teams, like work with other villains often, that doesn't mean she can't do things by herself. So if you do step to Killer Frost in a one-on-one battle to the death, she will freeze you in your tracks. She's a killer, and she's very frosty. Alright, so now that I've gone over these two characters, now it's time for me to decide who would win. But before I do that, some of you may have noticed those analyses went over pretty quickly. And yeah, we're only at like nearly 11 minutes, not even. And yeah, I'm already done introducing these two characters. And the reason why I went over so quickly, and one of the reasons why I find these two characters are very interesting, is because, you know, on Who Would Win and Why, I generally like to go by category, you know, strength and speed and durability, and then to the other special abilities that these characters have, or the characters on the show. But this time around, you know, they don't really focus that much in terms of strength and speed and durability. It's mainly just their own special powers, like chlorokinesis and cryokinesis. So there's really not that much to go over with these characters. Like I said at the beginning, these characters are basically pretty straightforward. So I think that's pretty cool, and that does make the episode quite shorter. At least I'm assuming this episode will be shorter. If not, then I'm going to ramble on for a really long time, just like I'm doing now. But anyway, so yeah, that's the main reason why we're only into like 11 and a half minutes. But after I lay out everything on the table and really consider everything these two characters bring to the table, I personally think that Killer Frost will win this fight. And if you believe that Poison Ivy will win this fight, that's perfectly fine, and that is very understandable. She is very powerful. If you do believe Poison Ivy will win, tell me in the comments below and tell me why. But here's why I believe that Killer Frost will win this fight. First of all, when you look at these two characters on face value, you can tell that there is an advantage that Killer Frost has. You know, one of them worked with cryokinesis, another one of them works with chlorokinesis. Ice versus plants. What do you think's going to happen? No, but in all honesty, you know, when you're looking at these two, when you're looking at characters' abilities, and this doesn't go for just these two characters, this goes for every single matchup that you do, when you look at their special abilities, you not only have to look at which one is better, but also can one negate the other one? Can one almost like completely counter the other one? And in this case, that is the case. Killer Frost can easily just freeze all of Poison Ivy's plants as soon as she makes them, and then Poison Ivy really doesn't have that much to bring to the table afterwards. Because, you know, Killer Frost, like I said, you know, when it comes to plants, you know, they can't survive extreme temperatures. And while I have to admit I don't know exactly how cold Killer Frost can go up to, you know, I'm assuming she can go past the point where plants can survive. So it doesn't really matter how many plants Poison Ivy creates or uses, you know, she can just keep freezing them, and then Poison Ivy's left by herself, and she's basically gonna have to fight the battle by herself, which, like I said, Poison Ivy's not really used to doing. And I know I said that Poison Ivy's very powerful. When she really gets going with her plants, she can be very powerful and cause a lot of destruction. But it doesn't really work when someone who can just basically like move around the battlefield so quickly, who can keep freezing your plants at like rapid fire at high speeds. You know, it doesn't really work when someone can do that, arguably at a faster rate than you can create your plants, because she still has to grow them, and you know, that takes a while. Whereas Killer Frost can just, you know, there you go, you're frozen. So yeah, I could pretty much just end the video here, and to some people this would be enough reasoning for why they believe, you know, Killer Frost will win. But like I said, this is who'd win and why. We're going to go even deeper. We're going to look at the other categories. And while I said these two characters don't really focus that much in other categories, when you do look at those other categories, Killer Frost seems to edge out in those too. Now, in all honesty, to be fair to Poison Ivy, there are some categories where it's really hard to tell a winner for those certain categories. Like when it comes to intelligence, both of these characters were doctors before their transformation. Well, technically they are still doctors, but you guys get what I'm saying. And neither of them strategize all too much on the battlefield. So when it comes to intelligence, they're about even. Another category where they're about even is versatility. Like I said, they have like complete control over what they control. Chlorokinesis, cryokinesis, they basically have like the best in those areas. You know, Poison Ivy is extremely good in terms of chlorokinesis. That was like a weird sentence. But you know, like Killer Frost is really good in terms of cryokinesis. However, one could argue that Poison Ivy is more versatile because she can create a whole array of plants and all like different types of plants completely. Whereas one could say that Killer Frost is more versatile because she can do anything she wants to with her ice. She can create anything she wants to, and she essentially has unlimited ice as long as she keeps absorbing heat from the air. However, I am more inclined to say that Killer Frost has the advantage in versatility because she's going to freeze all of Poison Ivy's plants anyway, essentially negating Poison Ivy's versatility, but, you know, that's not really the point. But when you look at the advantages that Poison Ivy has over Killer Frost, there's really only one of them, and I wouldn't even say that this is a real advantage at all, and this would be fighting skill. And the only reason why I'm giving Poison Ivy the fighting skill advantage is because Killer Frost basically has no formal combat training, to my knowledge. When it comes to Poison Ivy, however, she has very limited combat training and maybe one martial art. And even if she had more combat training than just that, she doesn't use it really at all. You know, she doesn't go in and fight her own battles. She uses her plants to her advantage. This is what I mean when I say when Killer Frost freezes all of Poison Ivy's plants, you know, Poison Ivy's not going to really know what to do, you know? Even though she might have some sort of formal combat training, she never uses it. She's not used to using it. She probably wouldn't think to use it, even if her plants were all frozen. So I'm not even sure if I would really consider this an advantage. It just doesn't really seem like Poison Ivy has any sort of advantage there because of what she would do. She wouldn't really use it. And when you look at Killer Frost's advantage over Poison Ivy advantages, then you kind of see that they are pretty numerous. Like when it comes to strength, Killer Frost can lift a fully grown man in the air with one arm with relative ease. Now, I'm not saying that's out of the realm of possibility for a regular person to do, because I actually don't know if a regular person could do that. But if a regular person could do that, they'd probably have to be really, really dang strong. And no matter if a person could do that or not, I'm pretty sure they couldn't do it with ease. They'd probably still have a hard time doing it. Whereas with Killer Frost, she was able to do that with relative ease. So that pretty much shows that she does have the strength past the point of a regular person. And when it comes to Poison Ivy, you know, without her plants, she just has the strength of a regular person. And Killer Frost is going to freeze all of her plants anyway. So that's why I'm looking at Poison Ivy herself. Like, I'm looking at her physical capabilities. And she just has the strength of a regular person. You know, she doesn't really have that much to bring to the table. I know that these two characters, like I said, they don't really use physical strength to their advantage a lot. But again, this is who, when, and why I'm trying to go into as much detail as possible. And when it comes to now where am I? When it comes to speed, this one's very, very obvious. Like I said, Killer Frost can fly. She can create an ice trail and glide along it, you know, as she can create it as she's gliding. So she has much more maneuverability and much greater speed. And when it comes to Poison Ivy likes to stay stationary a very long time for the battle. You know, whenever she's in battle, she likes to let her plants do the work, and the only time she's moving is when she's trying to accomplish something else. She never really, like, moves to fight, because she doesn't fight by herself. So when it comes to and she has the speed of a regular person anyway. So when it comes to speed, I definitely have to give that to Killer Frost. And when it comes to durability, again, very obvious. When it comes to durability, Killer Frost, she takes very powerful hits from very powerful characters such as Superman and Firestorm. And when it comes to Poison Ivy, the most deadly thing that she would have ever had to encounter multiple times over would maybe be a grenade from Batman, and that's assuming that she doesn't let her plants take that grenade anyway. And if she has taken that multiple times, then that might hint at some extra durability for her. But even if it doesn't compare nearly to what Killer Frost has to survive. And when it comes to stamina, again, Killer Frost can keep just absorbing heat in the air. It's as simple as that. Or she could just absorb Poison Ivy's life energy. I mean, she was able to do that to Superman and nearly kill him, so there's no reason why she wouldn't be able to do that to Poison Ivy. And, you know I said that, you know, if Poison Ivy gets close to her opponent, she can poison touch them, but, you know, like I said, Killer Frost, she can just end up freezing her or, you know, just absorbing her life energy. It's not good to get close to Killer Frost either, in all honesty. So yeah, when it comes to stamina, that's pretty obvious as well. So overall, both of these characters are very powerful in their own senses of the way. They are both, you know, they both have great control over what they control, and they can both cause a lot of destruction. But when you really lay everything out and you look at what these two characters are most known for, it's pretty clear that Poison Ivy doesn't have, like, really any any advantages at all in this fight. Killer Frost could just keep freezing all of Poison Ivy's plants, you know, rapid fire, or even just Poison Ivy herself. And after that, Poison Ivy can't really do all that much. She doesn't have that much more to bring to the table. And you know, this, I wasn't really going to mention this, but when it comes to what Poison Ivy is wearing, I mean, really, you know, she's not going to be able to resist the cold that much, especially since as often as Killer Frost is using her abilities and drawing heat from the air, that means the air around her is going to get colder as well. So again, it's just going to shift more and more into Killer Frost's favor anyway. But yeah, so both of these characters are very powerful, but Killer Frost could just keep freezing her plants, and then Poison Ivy is left with basically nothing to do. And then because Killer Frost has all the other advantages, including strength and speed, I feel that it really wouldn't be that long before Killer Frost would be able to get in close and absorb all of Poison Ivy's life energy, or just freeze her on the spot. So, in my opinion, the winner is Killer Frost. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, then please give this video a big like, a big thumbs up. Comment down below what you thought of it. If you think Poison Ivy will win, that's perfectly fine. But tell me in the comments below why, because I want to know why, and I want to, you know, see different perspectives and learn more about these characters. And, you know, this episode ended up not being too short anyway. But like I said, you know, it doesn't really take that long to explain who would win, because again, both of these characters, they mainly focus on one thing each, which is chlorokinesis and cryokinesis. And I know the episode might end up being shorter because of that, not really, but you know, that might be a good thing to some people, because I know the videos are getting longer, and you know, some people don't really like that, but you know, whatever. So yeah, and if you could subscribe to my channel, guys, that'd be so great. That would really help my channel out. I make these videos as often as I possibly can, which actually is a nice transition to what I'm going to say, you know, that important thing I was going to say at the end of the video. So, this is the last video that I am going to be filming before I go back to school. And school, I'm going into 11th grade, and I've heard from so many people that it is essentially hell, and, you know, it's a lot more work coming at you, you know, it's just a big step up from grade 10, and it's probably going to eat up a lot of my time. Now, I am definitely not saying Who Would Win Why is ending, that's just stupid, but what I am saying is that when I say I try to make these videos as often as I possibly can, that amount of time might end up being longer. I might end up having to get these out at a shorter time frame just because of work. And again, I don't know if that's the case because I haven't taken grade 11 yet. I don't know what it's like, but just so, like, if I miss a few weeks, or if there's just a time where I'm not making any videos, it's just because of school. I'm definitely not stopping this series. I love it so much. I love making these videos, but just know that I am still trying to do these as often as I possibly can, and if that is a shorter amount of time frame, I am, like, a shorter amount of time in order to get these episodes out, I am still going to do that if it means I can still get these videos out. I hope you guys understand. But anyway, your view is plenty of contribution, so thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And next time on Who Would Win and Why, we got Scorpion going up against Ghost Rider. See you all then.